these individuals just want to be accepted. They want to have conversations. Matt will spark up a conversation in the store, or when we're out in public. And sometimes the people are just really receptive and join right in. And some people act a little hesitant. And I get that. I understand. If you're not around somebody with special needs, you may not know. You may be a little bit intimidated. It may be, it just may be a little bit scary. And I get that. But I can guarantee you, if you talk with these individuals, if you spark up a conversation, you will walk away from that conversation a totally different person. You will feel inspired. You will want to do things differently. And you may even approach people. You may be the first one approaching these individuals when you see them again.
What the world needs now is joy and love. And today, the author of Big People Don't Pee in the Park, Wendy Hooten, is with me today. Yeah, I got a great show for you. So Wendy, welcome to the show. Congratulations on your bestseller. And okay, tell us, Big People Don't Pee in the Park. I love saying that. Tell me about the book. I know the story, but what's the book about?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me, Maureen. I'm excited to be here. You're such a joy to be around. I love your energy. My book is about my journey with my son who has Down syndrome, and he will be 33 next month. So it's 33 years along this journey, and we had somewhat of a rocky start because it was a surprising diagnosis. But it didn't take long for me to figure out that things were going to be okay. I just basically had to take things one day at a time. So my book it starts out with me sharing a little bit about me and how I got to be the mom. And then it's compiled of stories of situations he has put me in and how we worked through all of them. And I did my best to make my book funny, because I felt like, for any new parents who may be feeling what I was feeling when I had my son, you kind of need some humor, So I wanted to share with them the joy that our life has been, and to just laugh when they may be in the middle of tears, crying, and then give them hope, kind of be a crystal ball into their future. So that's my book, and I'm proud of it. I'm excited to have it out there. It's been a long journey getting it all compiled together, but it's been a fun and a rewarding journey.
I love it. As being a grateful reviewer, the book's funny. And I think it's something like, Wendy's just fabulous. What else was there to say? The book's funny, she's fabulous, and it's a great read, and there's so much funny stories in it. So tell me, as a day in the world is heavy right now. Can we do a few funny stories in this? Let's bring up some humor, some joy, and love. That's where I want to go today.
Okay, great. Well, I don't want to give away too many things in the book, because I've had people who are reading it right now tell me, don't tell me, because they're just so involved in reading it that they don't want it to be spoiled. But I'll summarize a few stories. So I have one story about how, oh my gosh, my son got caught shoplifting. And, kids do that. I did it. It was a normal behavior for him to do, but how was I supposed to take care of it? So I did take him back to the store. We did the walk of shame, and we worked through that whole thing. But it was funny because he had put the magazine it was a magazine that he stole, a Michael Jackson magazine. He loves Michael Jackson. So that chapter is actually called Smooth Criminal. And so he had pocketed it in those huge pockets and cargo shorts. So when he got back to school, because they were on a field trip, when he got back to the school and he pulled it out of his pocket, I just kind of gear that story around, first, our experience with him shoplifting, and second, the teacher's experience and the cargo shorts. Why are pockets and cargo shorts so big? Why do they got to be that big, right? I mean, who's to say my son wouldn't have stolen if he couldn't have fit it in his pocket? But that's one story that I've shared. Another story is about one time I was watching TV, and my TV suddenly started, a woman from, I don't know where she was from, but she started twerking on my TV. And so I'm in the middle of watching this show, and next thing I know, this woman's totally twerking. And how in the world did this happen? So come to find out, my son is not electronically challenged, unlike his mother, and had managed to link up his iPad to all of our TVs. So he got busted watching some videos that. So apparently my son was into twerking. So yeah, so that's just another story that I had fun putting together.
Okay, so the title, because there's a story in that too.
The title.
I have big people don't pee in the
Yep.
park. What's behind
that? So there is a story in the book about a time when he was probably around 10, where he needed to go to the bathroom, and we were at the park. And so, of course, like little kids do, he waited till the last minute to come and tell me. And when he finally got to me, we found a bathroom. They were locked. So I was looking around for a second bathroom. And when I finally spotted one across the way, I turned around and all I saw was his little bottom as he was going in the bushes. So yeah, so that's where, and how the title came to be is I went to work the next day, and I was telling my coworkers and my boss about the situation I'd had the day before. And what had happened is when I turned around and I saw him, I just like fanned out and said, "Matt, stop. Big people don't pee in the park." And so when I was sharing that story the next day, because these people knew that at that time, many years ago, I'd had a goal to write a book one day. And so when I told them that, we all decided, hey, that would be a great title for a book. And so that is how the title of my book came to be.
I have questions. So first of all, Matt catching there, the shiny little bottom, right? And there's the bushes. And he turns around, right? And says, "Hey, Mom," right? The whole in midstream going on. Did he know that he was doing anything wrong? And I think men pee outside. I don't know what that is. But did he know he was doing something wrong, or did he go, "What, Mom?" What was his reaction?
He just knew he had to go to the bathroom.
Okay.
So, and it was either have an accident or get rid of it. So turned around and the bushes were there, and hey, that's what we do when we go camping. So here we are. The park looks like the mountains. So let's go ahead and just take care of business. And fortunately, it was fall, so the park wasn't very crowded. So I was really worried about people seeing us. But I'm looking around, and then of course I didn't know if anyone had saw from afar. So as soon as he was done, I skedaddled out of there.
So let me ask you some parenting goals. When you're going to have a parenting moment, right? A disciplined parenting moment, whatever that looks like, a learning moment. How do you keep from laughing before going into it?
Well, I think honestly, doesn't every parent have a funny parenting moment? And you just have to kind of, work through the disciplining during it, and then turn around and start laughing, or walk away and start laughing. With Matt, I have to be careful about what he sees if I'm laughing when I'm trying to reprimand him, because then he thinks it's funny, and it's not that learning moment, right? So I have to make sure that when I am teaching him, because it's still happening, we're still on this journey. I mean, even though he's an adult, we still are, dealing with teaching moments and, being appropriate and, just everyday life. So I have to be careful about what I see so that it doesn't, how I react, so it doesn't encourage him to not learn the lesson.
Well, because it usually is funny.
Yeah. So for instance, movies, he loves movies, and he will quote them. And sometimes the lines aren't always appropriate, so we might laugh at home when he does it. He catches us off guard, and again, because in that moment he did catch us off guard and we laugh. But then we have to say, okay, so that was funny and it was in the movie, but it can't walk out the door with us. Okay. So that stays here. So I do have to kind of just cross each bridge as it comes, I guess.
Okay, so little backstory, right? How old were you when you became pregnant with Matt, and the relationship with your husband, and then where you came then, and what would be the number one thing you'd recommend for parents that have children that are different, and they come through with joy and love and their special gifts?
Yeah, so I was 23 and it was back in the early 90s, so there wasn't a whole lot of information out there, and even in the 80s these children were still being put in institutions. So I had no exposure or very little exposure to people with Down syndrome. So, and because I was so young, it was just it was, like I said earlier, it was a bit of a rocky start for us. And then it sadly it does affect the family because it's a lot of work. There's a lot of emotional work. There's a lot of work, physical therapies, occupational therapies, a lot of things to get these kids started and going out in life. And sometimes it's just hard to deal with the pressure of, especially if you're working full time, the pressure of work, the pressure of taking care of other children, the pressure of these extra needs these children may have. And then couples may tend to forget about each other.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what happened in my case. My husband and I, we forgot to take care of each other. We did end up getting divorced, but he's still a big part of Matt's life. And I've met an amazing man who is just, I like to say Matt has the best of both worlds. He has two dads who just adore him. And, they're a big part of his life and helping him to become a man.
And so within that learning moment, what would you tell any parent that has been given this gift? What would be the number one thing? And I'm sure there's a list. What would be the number one thing that you would say, this is what I recommend number one to do or be, or what would you say?
As far as their relationship or
with from the beginning and working because I remember in the book, it goes into detail about okay, first it was a little bit of shame and blame and all of that. And you go through that really eloquently. And the piece that was and I would think that it's a very lonely, initially, very lonely place, because who are you going to? Who else will understand? Is community the absolute most critical thing to supporting and moving you forward when you find that you're uniquely gifted?
So what I find myself doing when I hear of a new parent who's just starting out on this journey is the very first thing is congratulating them, because it is still a baby, and a baby who is going to bring joy and love like no other. So I just want them to remember that to just love their baby and enjoy that moment, and to take each day one at a time. Try not to worry about the future, and just take each day one at a time. And then
so hold on. There was I'll lead you back in. There was the doctor. The doctor that came, this has really struck me as one of the things that stood out. Besides you stood out for me, you and Matt. But then the doctor that came, and this is also a learning of what we get to do as a society, as medical, as everyone supporting around us, we bring another beautiful life into this world. What made the difference with the doctor that came in, and you were holding this magnificent, adorable little boy? Tell us the story and tell me about who she was and how she made, and you can be right back to that moment, right?
Right. Yes, absolutely. So that doctor made the whole difference for my journey, because to be completely candid, I didn't know how I was going to step out of that hospital. But Matt was 3 hours old when I found out, that my OB didn't even know that he had Down syndrome. There was no signs during my pregnancy, during the delivery. I had such a magnificent delivery for delivery as far as deliveries go. So all of that just went so well. And then when Matt was 3 hours old, the pediatrician on call that night, because it was 2 o'clock in the morning, came into our room and she was holding our baby. She didn't have him in his little cart. It wasn't a nurse, it was the pediatrician holding our baby. And she asked if she could sit and visit with us. And I was just excited to see my baby again. I had been waiting for 3 hours to see him. Little did I know that he was in the NICU being evaluated. And they were, finding all of the symptoms. But when she sat down, she just said, the very first words out of her mouth were, "You have a beautiful baby boy here." And as beautiful as that was, my instincts just went on high alert. Like, okay, it's 2 o'clock in the morning. The pediatrician is holding my baby. What is wrong? And then that's when she delivered the news. Had she done it differently, because I was young, because I had little knowledge about people with Down syndrome, I did not think my son was going to have a good life. I thought my life was ruined. I thought, how am I going to do this? But had she delivered it differently, I think I would have walked out of that hospital differently. I would have felt doom and gloom. But I say that for me, knowing who I was at that time. But because she delivered it the way she did, she acknowledged him as a baby and not a diagnosis. And that changed our course from then on. So, and I do call that out in my book. Just a little shout out to our doctors and nurses who work so hard for us. But I know even today that people who get the news don't get it so eloquently as I did.
Yeah. And that's where we can close the gap and do better.
Mm-hmm. Yep, absolutely.
And on that note, as a society, there's, again, what if you'd say one thing to all the people out there? What do we get to do better?
So our children, this is not, our children just want to fit in. They want friends. They want the same life that we have. He doesn't know any different. He wants to be with the guys. He wants to be doing what people his age are doing. It's not always accepted. There are some people who are of the mindset that there are certain programs for people like these, or they set limitations. They can't do this. They're not going to be able to go to college or get married or, those things. But those thoughts are so back in the past. These individuals just want to be accepted. They want to have conversations. Matt will spark up a conversation in the store or when we're out in public. And sometimes the people are just really receptive and join right in. And some people act a little hesitant. And I get that. I understand. If you're not around somebody with special needs, you may not know. You may be a little bit intimidated. It may be, it just may be a little bit scary. And I get that. But I can guarantee you, if you talk with these individuals, if you spark up a conversation, you will walk away from that conversation a totally different person. You will feel inspired. You will want to do things differently. And you may even approach people. You may be the first one approaching these individuals when you see them again. But that's it. They just want what we want. I like to say, let's focus on their abilities and not their disabilities, because they really are more like us than different.
And with that, so what's Matt's vision? What does he want?
This whole book thing has been just really fun with him. I've been locked away in my office doing my writing and really working hard. And he's been, supporting me, but off doing his thing, being quiet so mom can work. And then when we got our physical book last week, I knew when he actually held it that things would change for him. That's exactly what happened when he held it and he saw the pictures of him inside the book. he just got so excited. And so he and I are actually working on a project. It's a book that I started writing several years ago and was the book that I had planned to write initially. So it's a book that we're going to work on together. So he's going to be my little co-author. He's actually been helping me come up with characters and what the story is going to be about. So we're working on that. And we've also been trying to get him out there. You know, I've been toying with a podcast idea.
You think? Okay.
Yeah. So I've been trying to come up with ways to do a podcast, but we've been doing some fun things for me to post on social media. Okay. So we've got some plans there, you know, to kind of, and again, it's to bring awareness, you know, to let society see the sense of humor and the fun and what I learned from him just in our little 1-minute interviews and stuff that we do. So those are the types of things he's doing. But Matt loves to read. He loves to write. He loves to go to the library. He loves to bowl. He's an avid bowler, and he's a great bowler. And I have a story in my book about that. So I keep Matt active. He's involved in some adult day programs, out doing things with them. So yeah. And he's involved in the Best Buddies program, which has been such a godsend to us as he's grown older. It's nice that he's got, they call him buddies, but this person just comes and gets him and takes him and hangs out. They go to the arcade, they go to dinner, they go to the park, they paint, you know, she's just amazing with him. And so it's just a fabulous program that is available to anyone. It's nationwide. So I encourage anyone who's looking for things to do with their older children. And I do know that it's a program that's available in the school system too. But if you're trying to get your adult children out, because as adults, things tend to slow down for them. You know, you have to really put the effort into it. So the Best Buddies program, it has been super helpful to us, especially since COVID.
Well, you know, you're saying something that suddenly all the emphasis on preparing the children to become adults, the resources tend to wane and just go away, right?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay.
So as an adult, it has been challenging because there aren't as many opportunities. So we've really had to work to find programs to keep him active, keep him involved.
All right, we're going to put the link to that too. I think the awareness of that, getting more around, and even potentially resources for that, and the Big Buddy program. I have a question. And then we'll leave this. So it's difficult when your children start to date and who they date. How has Matt's dating experiences been, and how have you been holding up?
Well, Matt is married.
I didn't know that. Oh my God.
Her name is Katy Perry.
You didn't come in with pictures?
No, it's Katy Perry. Matt will tell anyone he's married to Katy Perry.
Oh, well, she's available now, I think.
Oh, if so, I mean, I don't know if Matt may start going after her, but it didn't matter. It didn't matter. He's married to her whether she's married or not. So, and there's actually a chapter in my book about Mr. Katy Perry. So,
okay, right now I'm going back in for that. I'm all right. Got good taste, Mom.
Yeah, he does actually. Right. But as far as dating for Matt, he's not really shown an interest in dating. He loves to hang out with people in general. So he's got his little group of friends that he goes and hangs out with. Now there are people with Down syndrome who do date, you know, and they get married, but Matt hasn't shown that interest, you know, just yet, which when he was born I left the hospital, my son was going to drive. He was going to have a job. He was going to get married. And so now that he's 33, almost 33, and none of those things have happened. We've had to shift our goals and dreams for him to fit him. But if it's not something that I'm sure if a cute girl came along or a girl that sparked his interest, he'd be like, hey, you know, and start talking about her. And then but it hasn't happened yet. And I'm not giving up hope.
Okay.
right?
Well, Wendy, be careful what you put out into the universe. This is gonna be the next episode. Matt's love life. Where does it get to go? You opened it up. You, reminds me of with parenting, and I'm just so grateful to be a mom. And that one of the lessons that I own and I'm grateful for is that they're not here to be your child. They're here to be them, and you get to experience them as their parents. It's a different dynamic. And looking at it that way, it's all about who they get to become, because they were already born that way. And it's the same with any child and being.
Mhm. Yes, that's right.
All right, everybody. The magnificent Wendy Hooten. She'll get used to me introducing her that way. Big people don't be in the park. Get the link below. Again, you can't help but falling in love with Wendy. That's what I said on my review, and you will get the book. And keep an eye out for other things coming out, because I'm still standing for Wendy gets to have a show. And if you think that Wendy and Matt should have their own show, put a yes. When is the show? Or thumbs up. Until next time, we bring you joy and love. And I'm grateful to be with you today. Bye, everybody.
Bye.